Good morning. Thanks for joining me today. My name is Nick Dogle, and I'm the owner and founder of North State Law, where we safeguard your professional license by getting you back to business. Today I wanted to discuss top 10 things to know to keep from receiving a professional license disciplinary letter. So here we go. First one is know your rules of professional conduct. Seems obvious, but some people don't know. They may skate by, just pass their ethics exam, and then they forget about it, and then they, go back to doing what they wanted to do, and ends up being unethical. So don't do that. Know your rules of professional conduct and abide by them, because it's not going to be a defense to say, well, I didn't know, so therefore I can't be, held responsible for it. Yes, you can, and you will be. So, all right, moving on to number 2. If a supervisor or a boss asks you to do something unethical, do not do it. You still have an ethical responsibility with your board or state licensing agency to abide by those ethical rules, even if a boss or supervisor tells you to break one of them. That is a lot easier said than done. I understand that because everybody wants to, everybody needs to get paid. Everybody needs to pay rent. At the end of the day, if somebody terminates you for not breaking a rule of ethical conduct or doing something, just flat out illegal, contact an employment law attorney. They might be able to help you out. Okay. So number 3 is don't drink while on call or working. A lot of folks that are licensed professionals are in the medical field and they are on call a lot of times. So just assume that when you're on call that you're going to be called in and working. So don't do any alcohol while you're on call. Same with working. If you have a regular 9 to 5, you're not on call. Don't go out till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Don't make a late night turn into an early morning, because when you get to work at 9 or 8 or wherever you get in, you could still be drunk legally. And if your boss smells some alcohol on you, there's going to be stiff repercussions on there, and or you can have the licensing board notified and a complaint filed against you. Leads me to number 3, don't do drugs of the illegal variety. Obviously you have a prescription, talk to your doctor and go by that. But the illegal drugs includes marijuana. It's not legal in North Carolina, and it's still illegal federally. That will show up on a drug test. And even if you're a great employee, if an employer finds that on a drug test, they're more than likely going to terminate you, and if it's an ethical violation, and they'll have to report you to your licensing board or state agency that controls your license. So don't do that either. Number 5, pay all licensing dues. Every single licensing board or state agency, it requires you to pay licensing dues. Attorneys are no exception, so I have to pay licensing dues every single year in North Carolina. I'm also inactive status in Mississippi and Florida, and even though I'm inactive, I still have to pay fees to them as well. So you don't want to fall behind on those, because that would be, guess what, an ethical violation. So make sure you're up to date on those as well. Number 6, stay up to date on your continuing education credits. Not only are you going to learn a lot more useful information to practice in your profession, but it's a requirement by your licensing board or state agency that controls your license. So make sure you're up to date on those. A lot of times the continuing education will roll over from year to year. So if you're required to have like 13 and you end up having 18 one year, well, you'll have 5 roll over the next year. That's not for every single profession. So check with your check the rules of professional conduct in your for your licensing. Anyways, the next one, keep a tight handle on your finances. A lot of times when somebody is in trouble with a licensing board, it has to do with the individual is required to have a tight handle on a trust account. For example, a real estate broker, attorney have to have a very tight lid and tight grasp on their trust account. It's got to be reconciled. For brokers, it's got to be reconciled every month. Attorneys, it's recommended that's reconciled every month. Also, general contractors, they have a lot of money that goes in and out. General contractors have to pay subs, so and it's got to be down to the penny of what money came in from the client, what money went out to the subs, when it went out to the subs, things like that. So if you got any money coming in and out that you're responsible for, make sure you keep a good track of it. And also, even if you don't have a trust account or anything like that, it's just a good practice to keep a really good eye on where your money's at. Even if you have a bookkeeper, still keep track of it. Probably weekly is what I do. Just to make sure that nothing's being embezzled from you. That is a real thing. A lot of people don't realize how quickly somebody can embezzle some money from you. You know, you might trust an employee, might be a trusted employee for 2 years, and they start to have some financial problems personally, and then they start to dip into your operating account, and next thing you know, they've embezzled tens of thousands of dollars from you. So just keep a good eye on that. It's just as a general practice in whatever business you're doing. Okay. Next thing is keep records of all written communications, emails, letters, faxes. If you still use faxes, keep track of all that stuff. I keep a running copy of all email transactions or communications, I should say, with all clients, vendors, whoever else that I communicate with, and I keep tabs of it in my Gmail account. And it's really helpful. If somebody says, well, I sent you that email on such and such date about this, I can look back and see if that's actually true or not. So just do that as well. It's an easy way to keep track of stuff. It takes like not even an extra minute to create a new tab and put the emails in there. Just make it part of your daily practice, whatever you do. All right. And eventually it could save you if you do have a complaint filed against you, because somebody can say, well, I said this, or I sent this to you on such and such date. You can look back and go, I saved every single email. I did not have a communication with that way, or here's the email, it does not say what you said it said. And that could be really good evidence to use in your defense in front of a licensing board as well. So that's very important. Also, following up on that, number 9, take notes of all calls. Again, if you get in a dispute with somebody and they are saying that you said something on a phone call, if you take notes on everything, you can say on February 28th at 4 o'clock, you had a conversation with such and such, and you take notes on the substance of the conversation. Most people don't take notes of conversations. So guess what? If someone makes a complaint and says, well, we had this conversation on such and such date, you can say, yeah, we did. It was at 4 o'clock, and here's what it said, because I have notes of that. I wrote notes right when the conversation started, and I concluded my notes right when the conversation ended. Most of the time, the other party's not going to have notes of it, so keep track of that. It'll give you peace of mind, and it'll give you potentially evidence if there is a complaint filed against you, which is great. Next thing is try to resolve all disagreements with former clients or current clients. In my experience, and I think a lot of folks out there would agree with me, you could do a fantastic job for a client, and they can tell you that. And they may tell you on, July 12th, man, I really thought you did a fantastic job. You're the best at whatever you do, blah, blah, blah. 2 days later, they get a final bill. You did a terrible job. I can't believe I hired you, and blah, blah, blah. People love you until they have to pay a bill, unfortunately, and it doesn't always happen like that. It's honestly probably in the minority when it happens, but it still happens. So try to resolve things. If you have kept track of emails where they've given you kudos, or phone calls where they've given you kudos, you can find a way to use that very politely and cordial and professionally being the most important thing, because we live in a day and age where somebody will go on Google and leave you a bad review. Just respond to it politely, and just make sure that you don't reveal any client information that might be confidential as well, and that's important as well. So those are the 10 things that we have for today. As always, thank you for joining me. I'm Nick Dogle with North State Law. My law firm website is northstatelawfirm.com, and I can be reached at 919-521-8810. Everybody have a fantastic day.